Hi there, welcome to Read the Rainbow episode 2. Today we are going to be talking about the 6 romances that I have read over the past few months, all with the rainbow in mind. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go watch the intro video. It is quite informative, but basically I have 6 books here from red to purple, all in the romance genre, and I am going to rank them so that we can figure out what the best color is objectively. It sounds really stupid now that I'm saying it out loud, but it's a good time. I also previously did this for thrillers, so if you like this one, you can go watch that one too. But the 6 books that we are going to be talking about today in color order are No Offense by Meg Cabot, The Trouble with Hating You by Sajni Patel, 99% Mine by Sally Thorne, Accidentally Engaged by Farah Heron, Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur, and Romancing the Duke by Tessa. We're also going to be ranking these books according to some categories that I came up with. Those categories include writing, setting, the hero, and the heroine. I do have one female-female romance on this list, so I still split them up, but they're both heroines. I also have side characters and pacing / relationship speed. So not necessarily if it's insta love that I hate that, just did I feel that it was a good progression of the relationship. I also have a category for steaminess and one for subplots. So that is how we are going to be ranking these by science. So with romances, there is one thing that I think is important above all else, and that is dual perspective. The book that is in 6th place is one of the 2 single POV books that we have. It is kind of no surprise that it's in the last spot. I kind of predicted it going in. You know her, you love her, it's 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. I really did not enjoy this book. I do not think that this was a good romance. I think the hero and the heroine were both awful. The story was bizarre, the pacing was all over the place, and it wasn't fun. I didn't love The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, but I at least appreciated the banter between the leads. This one didn't even have that. Notable categories include hero, heroine, side characters, and pacing all getting once. That's bad. The category that it did best in was steaminess, which I did enjoy. The scene, there is only one sex scene. There are some like flirty scenes throughout it too that are kind of fun, but still 3 isn't great. It just kind of happened and I didn't hate it. I know lots of people didn't enjoy this book, but it worked perfectly for Yellow, which is why I read it, but sorry, it's in the last spot. I also gave this 1 star on Goodreads. In the 5th place position, we have Orange, The Trouble with Hating You by Sajni Patel. This one was tough because different sections of it felt like they were written by different authors. Like there were some parts that I really enjoyed and some parts that I absolutely hated. Sometimes I wanted the leads to get together and sometimes they needed to get as far away from each other as humanly possible. The notable category for this book is subplots because there's a lot of family drama in this romance, which is not something that I enjoy in my romances, but I do enjoy generally. So I do think that this should not have been a romance, and if it had focused more on the family conflict, I would have liked it a lot more. And then for all of the categories that I mentioned for 99% Mine, hero, heroine, side characters, pacing, they all get 2s. So slightly better, but still I didn't really like any of these characters. I also thought there were too many characters in this. Like the heroine has a big group of girlfriends and they all sort of had something going on and it was kind of hard to keep track of, but not in a way that I feel would set up sequels like a lot of romances do. If that's what they were going for, which I don't think they were, then it wasn't done very well. So even if it's a good book, if it's a bad romance, it won't score as high on here. So that's 5th place. In 4th place, we have No Offense by Meg Cabot. This is the red book, and this one is very strange because the notable category here is hero, who got a 1. Arguably this hero is worse than the one in 99% Mine because in 99% Mine he doesn't get his own perspective. You don't really get to know him, and so it's more just like he's underdeveloped. In this book, he has his own POV, he's extremely developed, and he's an asshole. He does a bunch of stuff that's like supposed to come off as grumpy dad because he has a teenage daughter, but it's more just like a total disregard for the law or other people's feelings or basic human decency. He's just the worst. Of all of the characters in these books, he's the worst one. But you'll notice here that subplot, setting, and writing all get 4s. I really enjoyed Meg Cabot's writing, and I think she's really good at telling a story. I just think that this wasn't supposed to be a romance. The subplot here involves the heroine finding an abandoned baby in the bathroom of the library, and then she and the hero, who's a cop, sort of have to work together, or not together because he tells her not to figure out who this kid's parents are and stuff. Which is a really good concept, and the book was levied by that and then brought way down by the romance. The romance felt like an afterthought here. It felt like Meg Cabot had a book and she had it all written out, and then her publisher was like, well, I can't sell this unless it's a romance. And then the romance was really bad. But because of those other categories, this ends up being a bit higher than the other ones. But oh man, that hero, I hated him so very much. This is actually the second book in a series, which I didn't realize when I picked it, but it didn't matter. Like, I could follow everything fine, but I might read the previous one because maybe the hero in that one doesn't suck. But I definitely have to read some more Meg Cabot. In the 3rd place position is Green, Accidentally Engaged by Farah Heron. This book is the other one that is single POV, and I think you can see that it struggled because of that. The hero especially is really underdeveloped, and sort of his only character quality is, I like the heroine. I need more than that. I like that you like her. Congrats on that. He does have some tragic backstory, family drama, whatever, but because it's not from his perspective, he feels underdeveloped and also kind of sucky. The other thing with him is that he has a foot fetish, which, sure, fine, but it ends up becoming like a subplot in the book. No shame to anyone, but it was just not something that I enjoyed reading about, and it sort of took over a lot of it and didn't work for me. The winning categories here are side characters and setting. Setting because they travel around quite a bit, and I found that it was very visceral. Like, I could picture where we were at any time, and it didn't feel stagnant like a lot of cases. 99% Mine, which I'm going to keep referring back to because it's awful, all takes place, most of it takes place in one location, and it feels really claustrophobic because of that. This felt wide open and like we could do anything and go anywhere, and that was really nice. And the side characters in it were all excellent. This one I don't think was setting up for some sequels. It wasn't quite as blatant as it usually is if they're setting it up for sequels with some side characters, but I appreciated that even if the author wasn't doing that, they all felt really real, and they all served a purpose in the narrative, and they were all really different, and it was really fun. This one unfortunately also featured a lot of family drama. It is extremely similar to The Trouble with Hating You, which was my bad. It's read by the same audiobook narrator. It involves arranged marriages and religion. Once you get into it, they are different, but in pitching them, they're gonna sound extremely similar. This one I did enjoy more though. I did really appreciate it. I found nothing wrong with it. Like, everything was perfectly fine. It got a 3-star for me. Now the top 2 books, I almost might have switched if I was doing this emotionally, but the science doesn't lie. And these were both 5 stars for me, so I definitely recommend both of them. But in second place, we have Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur. I have a whole reading blog about this where I read my astrology chart, so it's pretty fun. Go check it out. But this one was really good for me. This is a female-female romance between an astrologer, matchmaker lady, and a curmudgeon-y accountant lady. And it's so well done. The notable category for me in this is the side characters. Because this book is getting a sequel, it's actually out now. I already have it. I'm gonna read it soon, hopefully. Isn't that what we always say? But the fact that I wanted to pick up a sequel right away is a really good testament to these side characters and the level of characterization that they were given. that I'm immediately on board with reading a whole second book by them. The writing was also really good. I think where this suffered was definitely steaminess. It's not quite fade to black, but it's almost that. If that's what you enjoy, then go for it, but because I'm ranking these as romances, I do feel like that might have been where it suffered. The other one is setting, because this is set in Seattle, but I never really got the feel of a city. Each individual location was fun, but it didn't feel cohesive. This one was also just really nice, being a female-female romance, that no one's sexuality was an issue in this. No one had to come out to anybody. There was no family tension. Because of that, there was other family tension. Why do I read so much family tension? I don't like it. But anyway, it was really good and I highly recommend it. I just think Alexandria Bellefleur is really good at writing romances first and foremost, and then everything else is just kind of icing on the cake. And I like cake. Hot take. Which then of course brings us to the grand winner of the romance section, Romancing the Duke by Tessa. Now I should mention, this cover is hideous and horrendous and I hate it, and that is my bad. And I chose this book because on my library this is the cover that they had. However, if you look anywhere else, they have this cover, which is clearly infinitely better, and what I am marking it as on my Goodreads, because the other cover is awful. So technically, should I have even read this for this challenge? Probably not, but I did and I loved it and I gave it 5 stars. Tessa is one of those people that I've heard about. She's all the rage on BookTube always, and this is the first one of hers that I've read. And it was great. It was so good. It's a historical romance that reads very modern, and that's what I want. I don't like the language of historical fiction. I find it too flowery for me, but I like the historical fiction setting. You'll notice 4s and 5s across the board. The only thing that didn't get that is the setting, which got a 3, which is still really fine. I think that the problem with this is it's all set in this decaying castle, which is interesting, but we never get outside of it, even in like flashbacks and stuff, and so it got boring. But everything else in this was incredible. The only thing that I will say that was not incredible was the hero was pretty aggressive. It's a hate to love, and he sort of kept trying to get the heroine to go away by saying things like, you don't want to be around me, I'm a bad boy, you know what we do to girls like you, which is gross and wasn't fun. But because this is dual POV, you know that the heroine is super into it the whole time. So even though it made me uncomfortable, it did a good job of justifying itself within the narrative. Not that I think it's good, but I think that it was well handled. As well handled as it could be, I guess. This also may be the steamiest book that I have ever read. It was constant and varied and intense. And if that's what you're looking for, then I recommend this book. The other thing that I loved about this so much was the subplot. So basically how do I explain this? The heroine's father wrote a series of books that now have like a fan following, and people will just come up to her in cosplay essentially and like be in character about how they are part of this world that her father wrote a book about, which is what I mean about like historical fiction written in a modern way, because that's so fun. And how can you have cosplay, like hilarious, the Knights of whatever, along with some of the steamiest stuff I've ever read in a magical castle, and the hero is like vision impaired because of a thing, and it's just so good. I hesitate to say it's like Beauty and the Beast, but it's kind of like Beauty and the Beast. He's a grumpy dude locked in a castle. She's strong and defiant, and they're like kind of fighting but not really. And I could talk about this one forever, so I'm not going to do that. If you have any inclination to do this, or to pick up Tessa in general, even if it's the only one I've read, I believe the BookTube hype about her, pick her up. So now we have our color ranking. We have yellow at the bottom and purple all the way up at the top. This one was really interesting. There were a lot of new authors for me. All new authors? except for Sally Thorne, which is really interesting. So I didn't know where a lot of these were going to land, but I am very happy with what I read. In comparing the Goodreads rankings to my rankings, there's some interesting things here. We both share a top 3 and a bottom 3, just in a different order. No Offense being at the bottom with a 3.22 is extremely low. I don't think I've read a book with a rating that low on Goodreads that I have actually enjoyed, but I do sort of think it's fair because I only give it 3 stars as well. My rankings here were 1 1 star, 3 3 stars, and 2 5 stars. So the fact that nothing on Goodreads gets above a 4, I'm not super surprised by. Accidentally Engaged 2, I know, is a very recent release, so I could imagine that number changing or already having changed since I filmed this. So overall, I do agree with the Goodreads ratings for the most part, which is a nice change. Which means we are one step closer to knowing the official ranking of the colors. So stay tuned for that. We're doing Pride Reads next, where I am reading LGBTQ plus books throughout the month of June. That video should be out in 2 weeks. I'm excited. There's some good stuff on there. But that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you've read any of these books or have any recommendations sort of similar to things that I've talked about already. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!